Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are going to be looking at Soulblight Gravelords. Now, just so some of you are aware, some of these items were sent to us directly by Games Workshop for the purpose of reviewing, and that would be the Battle Tome and the Blood Knights. Now, despite the fact that they were provided for that explicit purpose, all of the thoughts that I'm going to be sharing with them are completely my own. Whoa! So, we can go ahead and get started. Now, we also went ahead, got the Lauka Vai, Mother of Nightmares, and the new Vampire Lord as well. So we're going to take a look at those two. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on the Battle Tome. We're going to kind of do a quick flip through, take a look at it, and then we'll be doing an actual written review of it. Now, one of the things that actually surprised me most is back in the old world, as it were, Warhammer Fantasy, the vampire counts were their own faction, and essentially the undead or legions of Nagash were their own. And so now this is essentially the latest iteration of the vampire counts, but this book is actually replacing Legions of Nagash. So you not only have all the new vampire units and the things that come along with them, but you also have all of the Legion of Nagash stuff. So definitely a big change there, in my opinion. Now, with the Battle Tomes, you're going to see things like some fantastic artwork of your favorite characters from that Grand Alliance, and it basically breaks down the main legions. So for the main vampire legions, as well as, or actually 5, and then Nagash himself, basically kind of overall. Now, one thing that I found interesting, and this is something that was shared on the Warhammer community page, is that the vampire counts are very unique in a way, because most of the undead army, they have to literally be instructed to do everything, because they're completely dead. They have no thought process of their own, whereas the vampires themselves were actually allowed to keep that individuality, and so they actually are able to use their brains to plan and lead their own armies into battle. And then partway through the book, we're going to see painted versions of some of the models. So Lauka Vai, we have Nagash. We also have Manfred von Karstein. And then here we have Radukar the Beast, which is a far superior model to the Radukar that's part of Cursed City, in my opinion. Now, there is also a new set of zombies that just came out, which look fantastic. A lot better than the Cursed City ones did as well, in my opinion. And we even have a Painting Your Soulblight Gravelords section. Basically how they did some of the colors, which I'm definitely going to have to look at because I really liked how they did the vampire faces. And then in the back we have all of our war scrolls for all of them, including some of the ones that come out next week, like Kritza the Rat Prince, Lady Anika, Belladama Volga, Radukar the Wolf and the Beast. Now, I've been seeing a lot of information online about Radukar the Wolf, and specifically that you can't use him unless you're taking the entirety of his group from Cursed City. So basically all of the kind of character models. But let's see, it doesn't give us any points here on the War Scroll. So let's see if we can find... Okay. Let's see if there's any truth to that. Okay, so yeah, that is completely true. So it's 755 points to take Radukar the Wolf with his whole group. Which is interesting, because I honestly assumed that you would be able to take him by himself and without any of the others, just like you could take some of the others. So that is definitely very interesting. I'm not sure the reasoning behind that. My guess is to put the other models to use, but beyond that I'm not certain. Alright, so we did receive the Blood Knights last week, but as you can see I'm opening them for the first time here. Now, from what I'm told, for the most part with the body parts, there are enough arms and heads at the very least to basically kit bash another 5 knights. So you could essentially get 10 knights out of this if you were to pick up a kit from a different faction to be used towards this. Alright, so we have our 5 bases. Alright, let's take a look at the first sprue. So this is the horses. Now these Vampire Counts horses are so much more detailed than they used to be back when I used to play them. Now one piece that I absolutely love about this is their flag. Now the pictures of it shows a lot of detail, and it looked like it was done by freehand, but as we can see this is fully etched. So you actually get to mimic that flag itself, unless of course you want to fill in those gaps and basically do a slightly thicker flag. And then we have another sprue for the horse bodies. And okay, so this is not the same sprue, so that's good. Well, actually, yeah, they're definitely different. So very cool stuff. Really liking the look of these models. All right. Next is the Mother of Nightmares. And she also has an alternative version that you can do, which is just a Vangorian blade, or a Vangorian vampire prince. But personally, looking at the two different models, I would say her model is the far superior visually. My understanding is it's only a 5-point difference between the two, but she gets a better command ability. I haven't looked too much into the command abilities. As you see, I literally just barely opened the book. So I can't speak to that from experience, but a lot of my friends that have taken an advanced look at them have said that that is the case. Now, We got our main body parts. We also got the kind of broken up base. Here we have the wings and some of the other body parts as well. A lot of detail on these. I love the look of this model. She's absolutely fantastic looking. I can't wait to build her, even though I don't see myself really playing a monsters themed vampire army. I'm more inclined to go with using Radukar, just more for the aesthetic from Cursed City. And I do hope we'll get to see some of that coming next week when he's released. All right, now lastly, personally, I would have preferred if it was in a little box instead of this blister pack, but I do know that with the shortages on cardboard that it was less likely for a model of this size. Now, to build this Vampire Lord, it is just one sprue. Now, personally, I'm definitely going to make some changes to him. I'm either going to cut off the longer hair and get rid of the bats, or I'm going to swap out with one of the extra heads from the Blood Knights. Most likely go into the Blood Knights option, just because of the fact that I think the bats and the hair, flying with the hair kind of looks quite ridiculous, actually. Not sure why they thought those bats were essential, but they're there. And then lastly, whoa, we have White Dwarf number 464. That just arrived last week as well. All right. So we have our contact section as usual, where people sent in images of some of their painted stuff, ask questions, things like that. Then we go right into the Worlds of Warhammer section, which is discussing how global campaigns have actually shaped the Warhammer universes themselves. I mean, the prime example that I could think of being End Times, that basically ended the old fantasy battles and changed that setting pretty much forever. Then we go into A Tale for Warlords. This focuses on Space Marines, Necrons, Sisters, and Orcs. Then we go into the Caradron War Zone. Which is then followed by Index Hereticus, the Falling, or Fallen, rather. Which looks like it's more information about like fallen Space Marines and things like that. So it's basically a unit that's dedicated to hunting down traitor Marines. Then we go to our Golden Daemon section, where we see some of the winners and runners up. And then in the middle, we actually have some stratagems. Looks like for 40K. And then you can actually punch these out and use them for your games. So then we go into our battle report called the Bell Tolls for Thee. This is essentially between Luminath Realmlords and vampire accounts. Or sorry, not the Soulblight Gravelords. It's going to be a hard habit to kick, no longer calling them by their original name. But this is actually a battle that I wanted to set up. I wanted to take the new Soulblight Gravelords and actually pit them against Luminath Realmlords, mostly because my father-in-law is the one that would be most likely to play with me, and he prefers the Luminath Realmlords, whereas I prefer the Undead and Chaos, and so would definitely want to run that match specifically. Then we have a Rules of Engagement section, which is mostly talking about the evolution of the game. Then we have another Flashpoint, Broken Realms. This one is the Anvil of Blood. Then we go into our fiction section. So this is it's called Queen's Audience. It's a story about Neferata. Definitely looking forward to checking that out. Then we go into the Realms of Chaos section, which is the Realm of the Horned Rat. This particular one is focusing more on Skaven. Then we go into our Glory Point section, which is focusing on Dire Chasm. And looks like it's taking a look at some of the other warbands. And then we go into our very first Cursed City section, which is focusing on the heroes of the city. And then we have our Middle Earth section, War on All Sides. It's basically giving some new rules. Then we have another Black Library fiction section. This is Chronicles of the Wanderer. And it looks like both of these stories are self-contained without having the need of picking up another issue to continue the story. And then we have our Inside the Studio section. And then essentially kind of a teaser of what's to come, as well as showing some of the stuff that they're working on inside the studio. So I'm definitely a big fan of the magazine. I love when all the different features that they have in here. I just wish that there was more for Cursed City already available, as well as more Aeronautica type stuff as well. Definitely would love to see more of that. Now on the Warhammer community site, they have released the Remora drill. So if you're able to get one of those, definitely recommend doing so while they're available. Now that basically covers all of the unboxings. As I said before, some of the items were provided for the sake of the review. So you can expect that to be basically written, I would say probably in about a month or so. That way, give us time to read it and get familiar with those characters and their rules, and then be able to try them out and see how they fare. It may end up waiting until after Age of Sigmar 3 comes out. So it just depends on exactly what's going to be coming with there. But again, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all next week, where if we don't, we should hopefully have some more Soulblight Gravelords to go over, if not some other stuff as well. So you have yourselves a good night, and again, thank you for watching.